Hey there, how's it going? So I wanted to go ahead and give you the details and the layout of how I keep track of my 21-day fix menu, how I create it, um, my steps that I take, and how it helps me keep track of what I'm eating throughout the day and if I've missed anything or not. So the first part is going to be creating your menu. Well, in order to do that, you need to access, go through your book. On page, your booklet that you received with your goodies. On page 4 is the caloric intake bracket. I'm sorry, not the bracket, the calculator. This is going to help you determine how many calories you should have in a day. Once you figure that out, when you get your number, you'll go to page 19. On 19, you will see the different brackets. Up top, it's listing by the different brackets by caloric intake. So you find which one that you're in, and those are the containers that you will need to have in a day. So if it tells you that you need to have 4 veggies in a day, you need to be eating 4 containers of veggies in a day. It's a lot of food. A lot of people get overwhelmed with how much food their body actually needs to fuel themselves properly throughout the day. Sadly, there's so many people who think that you don't need to eat a lot or that you shouldn't eat a lot if you're trying to lose weight or reach certain weight goals. But in reality, your body needs a lot in order to process the nutrients properly. So once you figure out your bracket, what do you do next? All right, so you see it tells you how many of each container you will need in a day. So what I do, and there are many forms of documents and cool little layouts on Pinterest that you can find and use. You want to find something that works for you. It needs to be visually appealing so that you're still attracted to doing it. If it starts to get tedious, then we want to change it up for you because it's not working for you. I found what works for me. So what I do is I have a food journal that I keep track of everything in. And what I do is on a new day or a new week, I make the boxes, if you can see that, for the foods that I need. So I am in the first bracket. So I need 3 containers of veggies in a day, 2 fruits, 4 proteins, 2 carbs, 1 healthy fat, and then 1 seeds or oils, and 2 tablespoons. Now, my menu is very basic. There are a plethora of awesome recipes that you can find that are 21-day fix approved, as we call them, that are intricate and you can cook a whole lot together or whatnot, but mine are basic. So I'm going to show you how I lay out mine. And then once you have a better understanding of creating a basic menu, you can start to sub in for some more intricate type meals. So for example, what I'm going to do first, have my page here, is the first meal of the day is going to be breakfast. So what am I going to eat for breakfast? I have my Shakeology, and I mix mine with spinach. I don't always, but if I'm going to mix it in the blender, then that's when I use spinach. I try not to make it too tedious just because my life's a little crazy and I'm here, there, everywhere. So Shakeology with 1 scoop of Shakeology. I drink the vegan chocolate, 8 to 10 ounces of coconut milk, and then a green container of spinach. So I put that all in. I write that down as that's going to be my breakfast. What I then do is underline the foods with their appropriate color. So green for my veggies, I'm underlining spinach. Then I'm going to underline Shakeology with the red for protein. And I'm also going to do a small underline for the blue because I'm using my blue for my coconut milk. That's the beginning of my breakfast. But then about 10 or so minutes after I have my shake, I like to have a banana. But for my written menu, I just put it all down for breakfast. So I have Shakeology with spinach, as well as a banana. So I get my purple for my fruit, and I underline my fruit. Now what I do, since I'm in the meal plan process, I X out my boxes. So I'm using 2 pages here, so you'll see some writing on some and not on the other. So here are my empty boxes. I've now gone and created my breakfast on this page. You don't need 2 separate pages. I don't mean to make this confusing. I just want it to be visually nice for you. What I'm going to do is, first thing is the Shakeology. That is a red, so I X out the red box. Then I have my green, which is spinach. I X out a green box. And then a purple, so I X out a purple box. So this is what it looks like just after breakfast has been done. Now I know what spaces or what containers I still need to work with. All right, so the next thing is remembering that you want to eat every hour and a half to 2 hours. That's roughly about 6 times a day. That gives you breakfast, a morning snack, lunch, an afternoon snack, and dinner. That's typically the same basis that I follow. Sometimes I'll have a late night snack, but I'll have made sure that I accounted for it appropriately with my containers. The next item is my snack. I like to keep it light. For the morning, and it's typically 2 rice cakes. I get the gluten-free ones at Food Lion, and they're very decently priced, so I stock up on them just because it's a nice quick carb boost of carbs that I have become obsessed with, actually. So 2 rice cakes with some peanut butter on them. Your peanut butter is going to be your tablespoons. You are allotted your tablespoons for all types of nut butters, almond butter, sunflower, peanut butter, whatever it might be. So I'm going to be using my peanut butter, both tablespoons, for my snack, as well as my 1 carb, which is the 2 rice cakes. Okay, so now I make sure that I scratch off, or I X out rather, one of my carb boxes, and I fill in my little circles that I have used my tablespoons. All right, so if you're catching the drift, I'm just writing down the foods that I want. I already know off the top of my head what foods I like from this list. These lists are actually pretty detailed. When I first got the fix, I thought it was going to be quite limited just because I didn't know a lot about it at the time, but even for someone who doesn't get the opportunity to eat a lot of different foods because of allergies, I feel that there is a lot of choices here. So you'll start to get an idea of what foods are appropriate on the list. But right now, I don't have to keep going back to this. I know the foods I like. So I just go down to my lunch. Typically, I like a soup or a salad for my lunch. So today I'm going to have some soup with quinoa and sweet potatoes on the side. I like to keep my lunch somewhat light, but kind of pack it in with a lot. So I'll get my greens from my butternut squash soup. I'll get a protein from my quinoa, and then boost in some carbs with the sweet potato. I like to do this because typically the afternoons I'm on the courts all day. So I need some carbs and proteins to really boost me through that afternoon. So I have my butternut squash. I go ahead and underline that and X out that next green box. I have my quinoa, which is a protein. And then I have my sweet potatoes, which is my second carb. All right. So I no longer have any more carbs available throughout the day. Sometimes this can be a little bit challenging for me, and if I do notice that, I will rearrange things so that I have a carb later at night if I feel that my body was craving them in the evening. But overall, I make sure that I really, really do stay on track. I do give myself a couple extra containers here and there just because I'm doing more exercise than just the 30-minute fix workout. So I need a little bit more protein and more carbs throughout my day, but I make sure that I don't go overboard. So I'm going to continue going through this. Now I'm on to my snack. I'm going to have 2 hard-boiled eggs with some carrots and cucumbers. And what I do for this is I take my last box of veggies, okay, my last container, and I just split it into 2. That way, I'm going to have half of it with carrots and half of it with cucumbers. Now, 2 hard-boiled eggs, you will see in your booklet, in your nutrition guide, 2 hard-boiled eggs accounts for 1 protein. So I've now used all of my carbs. I've used all of my veggies. Moving on to my afternoon snack, that was my afternoon snack. Moving on to dinner is, I keep dinner light because I had a bigger lunch, but it's still fulfilling. It's going to be another fruit, which is my watermelon. And then I drink 2 Shakeology shakes in a day just because of my health issues and the lack of foods that I can eat. I don't get enough protein. So Shakeology gets me that second boost of protein that I will need. All right, so I've now I've used all of my fruits and my proteins. Sorry. The only thing really left here for me is the orange, which is your seeds and oils. I used oil during the process of making my butternut squash soup. So as long as I didn't go overboard with that, that accounts for 1. And I typically don't use a lot of oil to begin with. If you're someone who eats meat, I don't eat meat. If you're someone who eats meat, you'll be able to account the oil that you're putting into the pan as that orange for however you have cooked and prepared your meat, or really anything that you're frying on the stove, whether it be your veggies or whatnot. So what this looks like now is I have all my foods written down, and I have X'd out my boxes as I went along creating my menu for today. This makes sure that I know I've gone through and I've allotted for all of my greens, all of my fruits, all of my proteins, and so on and so forth. But what I do come that day is, this is why I had that second page, and I've already kind of X'd them out just to show you along the way, is I just make a separate page. Typically, you'll see I'll have this is a new page, so I'll create a line here with just regular pencil or pen, and I'll write Monday over here. And then I X them off as I actually eat them so that I know I am on track with what I'm doing. So for example, I'll do it here. I'll, just make a line, and this is for Monday. And then I create the space to be able to do it again on Tuesday. I recommend the first week that you follow the 21-day fix. You keep your menu simple and you keep it routine throughout the entire week. Don't change it up. If you're someone who does great with changing different things and you fear that eating chicken 2 times in a day over and over again is going to get repetitive and annoying, certainly we can switch it. But I recommend for that first week kind of just pushing through that so that you can get used to the routine of the containers and how you need to space them out. Spacing out is actually the most difficult part of this program. Spacing out your containers appropriately for you and your activity is where the challenge is, because you might have packed in the protein at breakfast with 2 eggs and sausage and bacon. That's 3 proteins right there. All right, so if you're following the same calorie bracket I am, that leaves you with 1. And now you still have to work out. You still have to take care of the kids. You still have a full day of work. All right, that protein will get you through until about mid-afternoon. And then you have to come home and you have to get the kids dinner and you have to do homework and then you have to still work out and then you have to clean the dishes and whatever it might be, and you've only have 1 more protein. You kind of see the drift that I'm getting into is the strategic setup of how you will utilize your foods appropriately. So I've made this video a little longer than I wanted to. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to reach out via Facebook message or text. Those are the 2 ways that I respond the quickest. Or if email is the only way, then we can go ahead and do that as well. So have a good one. We'll talk soon. Bye.